obviously you've been here for a few years now. What do you feel like's been different about the lead up to this season that maybe in years past for you?
I think this fall camp especially was just super competitive and physical every day. Practices seemed like they were endless, and it just seemed like the physicality that has really stepped up.
That's something Lincoln talked about in terms of like when you first got here to where you guys are now physically. It feels like there's been a lot of growth. Were you guys pleased with where you're at in terms of like specifically on the line, like the physicality of it, or you feel like there's still kind of more room to go?
I'm always more room to grow. The hay's never in the barn, right? Proud of the steps that we're taking as a room, especially the younger guys who we're going to depend on this year. Super proud of them and their commitment to the process so far. But overall, I think we're still hungry, and I think that's something that we just need to constantly remind ourselves of.
What's been your perspective on the battle next to you at left tackle?
Both are great competitors. Bobby Haskins and Portland Ford, great players. Whatever that our coaching staff decides that they're going to go with for game one, so be it. And we just got to, whoever that is, those five dudes just have to really be cohesive and really play as one unit and one heartbeat. So whatever that they decide, we're just looking forward to competing.
Is there one area you've seen Courtney grow the most from last year?
Definitely his maturity, just with knowing what's going on and being more of a savvy football player. You can just see that things that he struggled with in the past in terms of just identifying stuff schematically from a defense, he can pick up now and kind of recognize before it happens. So that's been really encouraging so far.
What have you learned about Caleb just going through the spring and summer with him, and just that you didn't know coming into it?
I mean, just not knowing the guy at all, or not knowing from spring to fall?
You knew of him, his reputation, but you didn't really know him. What have you learned about him through this process?
Just fearless competitor. I mean, it was obvious just watching him play on Saturdays last fall. But I mean, having him in the backfield and being the commander that we needed, that's something that's really stuck out to me so far.
What do you see next 10 days, just kind of specifically for the offense, where you guys can grow, I guess, the most? Just kind of crunch time here before the season.
I think two things that really stick out, and then they always stick out, is just your effort and your execution, right? Because those are two things that you can control regardless of any circumstances. So our ability to just lock into those two details and really drive that home is something that we need to just focus on these next few days.
I know it's not game week yet, but have you allowed yourself to think ahead to being in the Coliseum, especially comparing to the last time that you guys were in there and what that experience was like?
Yeah, I mean, of course, coming out with the sour taste last year, it just wasn't something that was fathomable from anybody. We're looking forward to getting back there at home, though, and having an electric stadium in front of a passionate home fan base. So we're really looking forward to it as a team competing in the Coliseum.
How curious are you about what the fan response will be, what the crowd will be this year?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, right, for game one with all the hype and everything this offseason. Hope to see it sold out, but you never know, right? So we'll see.
Is there any specific thing you're working on personally to develop your game going into this year?
Just details and technicalities and physicality, just a lot of things that I think anybody can work on as an offensive lineman.
What have you seen from Gino in this fall camp and kind of his progression?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a guy who's just taken the right steps just tremendously. Another dude who really understands the game now a lot better than he has ever before in the past. That's also been encouraging and something that we needed in the room.
When it came to last season, did it feel like there was maybe a hard time establishing a culture, just given that there was a lot of uncertainty about the direction the program is? And, how does that compare to this year when it's a first-year coach that's at least going to be here for a couple of years and hopefully has a new direction?
Yeah, I mean, last year was just tough overall. With Coach Riley, though, and his leadership, just something that just having the perspective of being here for 5 years and then seeing him and kind of the paradigm shift that he's brought to our culture and our program, something that's really stood out to me. And so we're really encouraged by him and his effort.
Yeah, and how difficult is it to keep having to learn, new schemes year after year as, coaches cycle through here? And, I mean, obviously you're not going to benefit from staying around this one for much longer, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a part of the game, right? But I guess the benefit of that for myself is that it's just one more thing that I could add on my resume. The ability to adapt to change, come from different offenses in the past with Coach Martin as our coordinator previously, and then Coach Harrell, and so on and so forth to Coach Riley. So I think that's something that definitely is a positive.
Does it make it easier to pick up new things when you've done it a few times?
Kind of tricky question to answer, right? Just because it's so much different. I would say yes, but you also can't say no at the same time, just because of schematically it's just different.
Is it more complicated in this offense?
Hard to quantify.
Yeah.
I think that's something I would just say is it's just different again. It's kind of like going to a different country and driving on the left side of the road.
Let's do one more.
As a guy that has been here for a long time, what was it like during the offseason when all these names kept coming up of guys that were going to be here, that were going to use the transfer portal? Was that exciting when you hear all these amazing athletes that were rolling in here to come join this team?
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Riley always said this from the beginning when he first got here. This is going to be the most unique roster in the history of USC, possibly the whole entire NCAA, just in terms of how many transfers we're going to bring in. And he really challenged the dudes that were already here to kind of bring them on board and just show them what it was like in terms of the culture that we were trying to build. So that was, like I said, something he challenged us with. And I think the dudes that were already here kind of did a really good job, because you've seen a seamless transition and integration of these transfers from all over the country into our program. And they're going to help us a lot this year, right? So really looking forward to them and their help.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.